Hello, what nuts, Humpty Dump Nuts, Caitlin Clunk Nuts, and Zach Hump Nuts. It is Wednesday, March 27th in the United States of America, and it is What Chaos. Hi, everybody. DJ Bean, Sean DePaz is over there. Pete Blackburn is on the screen. How are you, Peter?
Hello, David. How about that A-plus slate last night?
Boy, oh boy, I thought about it. I can't remember if I did send a tweet. I think the yesterday was a big don't send tweets day, as we will maybe discuss in a little bit. But I want to be like, yo, who told you this was going to be an A slate? An incredible slate. Everything paid off. Caps beat the Red Wings in overtime. Bruins come from behind to beat the Panthers and take over the Atlantic. Predators came back from down 3-0 to beat the Golden Knights in a matchup of Western Conference wildcard teams. Oilers blew a 2-goal lead and then beat the Jets in overtime on Zack Hyman's 51st goal of the season. Adam Fox scored the overtime winner to lead the Rangers past the Flyers. Josh Doan scored twice in his NHL debut, and Seth Jones scored again. Number one topic off today's show, how many goals do you think Seth Jones has?
Now 8?
He has 7 goals. Holy shit. Seth making jokes about never scoring goals. Jones now has 7 goals on the season.
Yeah, I mean, not bad for a guy who didn't score his first goal until after the All-Star break.
I think so. You know who else I sneaky want to shout out as we begin the show with 3 stars? Alexis Lafreniere. Lafreniere. Alexis.
Yeah. Yeah, he's having a pretty decent year.
Mr. A.
Our insider, Johnny Laz, is big on Lafreniere is going to be a guy. He said he's going to be a 100-point guy at some point in his career. And I think over the past couple months, he's been on a 72-point pace over an 82 game schedule. So he's developing into a really good player. And another guy that Laz just shouted out that I just saw on Twitter, Anthony Duclair, killing it with the Tampa Bay Lightning. So there are 3 stars right off the top of the show.
Yeah, and he was also right in noting, he was like, I know no one cares about the Lightning in the regular season, but that's a good insider. No one cares about the Lightning in the regular season. They've won too many cups. They've been too good in the postseason, and they've also kind of dilly-dallied, played with their food in the regular season. They're a big, just get to the dance and then start dancing. You're not going to catch the Lightning dancing during the regular season.
We haven't talked about the Lightning basically at all, and we also haven't really talked about, we've talked a little bit about the Toronto Maple Leafs, but the Toronto Maple Leafs have kind of flown under the radar and just treaded water in that Atlantic division for quite some time at this point. I feel like we just don't talk about them that much.
Quite frankly, I think it's because one time on the show, people forget this, I said they were galvanized. It turned into a big argument, got a lot of blowback, and maybe I'm a little shell-shocked to bring them up again. Everyone give me a hard time whenever I try to make a point about the Toronto Maple Leafs and whether or not they're
Get
galvanized.
off the Toronto Maple Leafs!
There you go.
That's fair.
Good work, Sean. Where do you want to start with that smorgasbord that I just threw out there? Again, Capitals, Red Wings, Game of the Year. Bruins, Panthers, Game of the Year. Golden Knights, Predators, Game of the Year. Oilers did anything. There was controversy around them that we can discuss, but what a hard-earned A. People don't know this. There's a movie with Emma Stone called Easy A. Mm-hmm. This was a hard A, maybe even A+. Sean doesn't like that, but good grade.
Yeah, no, I think if any slate deserves an A+ in retrospect, it's last night's, because we talked about how many pillars of that slate that there were, and all of them lived up to the hype. Even Josh Doan, who we were like, later on in the slate gets a little weak, but there is Josh Doan's debut, scores 2 goals. None of the last night's slate disappointed at all. So it's really dealer's choice where you want to start. I would say maybe the Oilers just because of the Hyman angle leading into that game, and then Hyman scoring the overtime goal just felt like the perfect chef's kiss for everything that happened yesterday with Andrew Berkshire and his take.
Okay, fine. We will start with Andrew Berkshire posting a video criticizing the media yesterday for basically pushing the Zack Hyman is a hard worker story when, in fact, Zack Hyman comes from significant wealth. And I'm sure you saw that video out there. And then really the rest of the day and into the night was the hockey and even non-hockey world dunking on Andrew Berkshire and Andrew Berkshire, by the way, is like a Canadians, Montreal-based blogger. He gets a ton of flack for this video, which, to editorialize a little bit, I think missed the mark. But he got a ton of shit for it. A lot of people making jokes. You made jokes. I made jokes. I feel like everybody made jokes. Even like national media. Elliot Friedman is making jokes about this. So he caught a ton of flack. And predictably, after this weird video, Zack Hyman scores the overtime winner for the Oilers. So he was the story all day, and then it actually became a real hockey story. I just want to say this with the Berkshire thing. I thought the video missed the mark big time. I think I know what he was going for. He was trying to say the media is doing a bad job at telling a one-sided story or whatever, but in making this video, he let what seemed like a personal / weird bias leak into it and maybe overtake the whole thing. Like, he made the dinner and then he dumped the sauce, way too much sauce on it.
Yeah, my two big takeaways were that, like, it did seem like it came from a personal angle, and including the fact that Hyman has played with Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid, being like, oh, like it seemed like he was taking away from the 50-goal accomplishment because he's had like all the breaks in the world to play with Matthews and McDavid. And yeah, he's been lucky, but like he's earned those opportunities to play with those guys. He entered the league as a fifth round draft pick and was profiled as more of a grinder than a top line forward who's capable of scoring a shitload of goals. So regardless of how much money your parents have, and Zack Hyman's parents, I didn't even know this. I guess it was well known in Toronto and in Canada. Zack Hyman's parents have a ton of money, specifically his dad. His dad basically bought a bunch of junior teams and then bought a scouting magazine to help push Hyman's career forward. And yeah, like in any case, if you start off with that much money and that much privilege, you've got to step ahead. But that does not guarantee you any level of success beyond like the college rank, the NHL rank. Zack Hyman has earned every bit of success that he's found basically since those moments. So like that was weird. And to bring it up now as like a response to the media's coverage of Zack Hyman just feels very ill-timed. It feels like you're trying to take away from Zack Hyman, or you're trying to critique the media for not leading their stories about Zack Hyman's 50-goal accomplishment with, hey, we got to start with that Zack Hyman had a step ahead. And yes, he says that he works hard, but his parents are also rich. Nobody cares about that right now. And to make it like an individual problem seems really, really misguided, because the reality is it's a systemic issue. It is very hard to become a very good hockey player and get a head start in hockey if you don't have money, because it's an extremely expensive sport to play. And like the bigger problem and the bigger discussion is that like you need money to get into hockey.
Do you know how much time I spent last night looking up whether certain hockey players' parents were dead or alive, because I wanted to make a joke every time any player did anything, but I didn't want to accidentally somehow leapfrog Andrew Berkshire as hockey Twitter's most hated person? Eventually, I backed off all of the parents' jokes, because while I disagree with Andrew Berkshire's video and basically the overall energy behind it, I do try to keep a radar up for someone is getting mercifully crushed here. Like, for as weird a day as Zack Hyman probably had yesterday, and for having to like talk to his parents and be like, hey, sorry you guys are like in the news for loving me and doing everything you can for me. Andrew Berkshire was also getting his ass kicked all day, and I luckily don't know the mental toll that takes. Yeah, do the crime, do the time, but by the end of the day, I was like, I'd like for his sake for this to blow over. I'd also like for him to realize, and he has posted a follow-up video, that like where he missed. And he got accused of a bunch of other stuff, like involving war, that I think might be a leap. I also don't want to get into that. Like, I think that somebody's views on peace and resolution can be separate from them making a weird video about Zack Hyman. But he got just, I mean, I can't remember the last time somebody got that smoked online. Can you?
Yeah. No, and it takes a lot to really unify hockey Twitter, and it felt like 98%, 99% of hockey Twitter was on the side of just absolutely pummeling this guy all day. And I should say, like, I've known Berkshire for a while, going back a long time, and we've had a pretty good relationship. Don't always like see eye to eye, don't always agree on everything. And like, I participated in the jokes just because, like, kind of made himself the main character of hockey Twitter yesterday. And, you know, like you said, do the crime, do the time. I tweeted out like Sam Reinhart scored last night, and I tweeted out like how much money do his parents make, and somebody alerted me to the fact that Sam Reinhart's dad played in the NHL. I did know that, but he's also become like one of Canada's like leading financial investors, so he is also extremely wealthy. So I just found that pretty funny. But yeah, it's gonna be. I do feel a little bit bad for Berkshire, just because like, he is not going to live this down for a long time. And it's just one of those things that, like, no matter what he says on Twitter for like maybe a year, maybe 2 years, the response is always going to be like, well, what about his parents' finances?
I mean, this one's kind of on the line, but I sent it to the group. I thought it was funny. There was people yesterday, and I just got to say personally, very weird day for me to make myself the main character of this, because as a Zack Hyman champion, as someone who is constantly texting people who don't know who Zack Hyman is, cool things about Zack Hyman, it was weird to see every single person I follow posting things about Zack Hyman and all these great things that they've learned about Zack Hyman and what a great guy he is. That was a little weird for me, but a great day. I'm sure that Zack Hyman's parents and I had a similar kind of, this is a little strange, but I guess we'll take the positive press about Zack Hyman. As people were posting what a great guy he was, somebody posted a video of Zack Hyman very eloquently explaining why Pride jerseys are important to him and why he feels that, like, he understands people have different beliefs and everything, but his strong belief is that everybody is welcome at a game, and why should he be allowed someplace and somebody else not be? And it was just a very thoughtful, impassioned explanation of what pride means to him. And one of the responses was, he only says that because his parents are gay.
The jokes yesterday were pretty good, honestly. So great day for hockey Twitter, bad day for Andrew Berkshire, but I do give Andrew Berkshire the nod for giving us the layup.
A criticism, while everybody's crushing Andrew Berkshire, I did notice in his video, he does something that kind of drives me crazy. I am, in my speaking, I am more prone to pause than to make a vocalized pause. And as a result of that, you could get some maybe weird staccato speech patterns that might drive somebody crazy. But I personally don't do a lot of vocalized pauses. He did my least favorite current vocalized pause, which is right. Right drives me crazy.
That feels like a direct attack. I say right all the time.
No, you don't. Have we talked about this?
I don't know if we have. I think we might have. I know for sure if I get like really passionate about something and I'm trying to explain something to somebody, especially if I think they might disagree with me, I'll lay something out. I'll be like, right. I don't know if it's like a vocalized pause, more than I just want to make sure you're understanding where I'm at right now before I move on. But I definitely do say right a lot.
You could switch it up with, are you with me on this, bud? Or
that seems demeaning. If I
feel
like bud, if you're, especially if someone disagrees with you and you call them bud, like those are fighting words.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my vocalized pause most of the time is fucking
That is
probably the worst vocalized pause.
Yeah.
It's just the F word.
Fucking, fucking is a common one. I say in just speaking poor English, but I don't stop and say like.
I don't think I'd do that. I don't know. Like, I don't think I pay that much attention to how I actually speak.
I don't think that any of us are massive or ah people, which is nice.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's not something I've noticed, at least.
That's clean. And you can, I'm too nerdy a media consumer. I can tell how interested or how confident somebody is in the topic of which they're speaking based on how often they end up falling back to and
I guess I can't speak for everyone else's experience, but like at ASU, they basically try to beat that out of you. Like I feel like that's if you try to work in
problematic.
Media, yeah, they
literally beat it out of you.
Beat their students.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Why do you think Josh Doan got so good?
You ever hit back?
A couple times.
What I would do if they tried to beat it out of me, I do this classic move.
Make them flinch.
Yeah.
And
then you got to marry your mother-in-law.
I forget what game I was watching. Somebody made someone flinch. I think it might have been Bruins. It was either Bruins.
I do remember. I forget who it was involving, but I do remember like the flinch thing. Oh no, was it Ryan Nugent-Hopkins?
Yes. I was gonna say it was Bruins or Oilers because I was watching the game.
Yeah.
There I go with somebody made Ryan Nugent-Hopkins flinch, and he said back to them, "You're losing the game for your team" or something. But my respect for Ryan Nugent-Hopkins went way up because somebody made him flinch and he didn't lose his mind and overreact. Because
he was just like, he kind of laughed it off. He laughed it off and was like, "You're losing the game for your team." I thought that was funny.
I feel like flinching gets a bad rap, especially when you're in a situation where someone almost like would definitely hit you. You're not a pussy if you try to protect yourself. I know it looks bad, but like
I don't know, but it is kind of like, emasculating.
If someone like if Tom Wilson, if I was on the ice and Tom Wilson like brought his stick back like he was gonna swing it like a baseball bat at me, like I'm flinching every time. I don't trust that motherfucker. Like he might just do it.
I used to discuss
there is an element of just being built different to not flinch. Like I always think back to the Kobe highlight of when Matt Barnes did the fake ball at his face, and it was like an inch away from his face, and he didn't flinch.
We're gonna break Pete's heart. I think you know what
I've seen the alternate angle. It wasn't as close as it looked, but still, like that's to not flinch in that moment, you kind of got to be built different.
And I do think that you are allowed to put that in the Kobe Bryant highlight reel, even if it's a little deceiving.
It gets
that gets because that's Kobe's heart.
I also feel like the flinching thing, like people that get credit for not flinching, like half the time it was just because they didn't like. It's not like they just like didn't react unprepared. To it. Like they were caught off guard.
You got shit awareness. Like I'll be honest.
Exactly.
I will be honest. I've like walked into a pole before. I'm sure everybody has. That's not good behavior. That's not like, oh, he's so tough. You didn't give a fuck about that.
Like,
pole.
I'm gonna make the pole move.
Yeah.
Like no.
You walked into the pole, my guy.
You walked into the pole. You weren't paying attention.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about. Are we good on the flinching talk?
No, I'm kidding. I was going to say that this is a nice Tom Wilson transition.
Fair, yeah. I do want to talk about the Capitals. I have a lot of Capitals thoughts.
All right, let's do it. Capitals are 3-0, by the way, 3-0-0 without Tom Wilson. So I think players, as we learned from the Leafs earlier in the season, you got any player with any asshole tendencies, get him out of that lineup. You're going to start winning games.
That's true. That's a good point by you. That's a good way to connect the dots.
Are the Capitals galvanized, Pete? I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't even know if galvanized is the right word. It's like, I'm being forced to take the Capitals seriously now, and I hate being in this position. I feel like every time we've talked about the Caps, I've just been like, whatever, fuck them. They're not for real. I'm not wasting my time on this. I'll wait a week, and then they'll be out of the playoff picture. Detroit's going to get it together. We don't have to spend time talking about the Capitals. I think we do actually have to start talking about the Capitals now because they beat the Red Wings last night. Huge victory. Washington's won 6 of their last 7. They have beat good teams over that span. You got Vancouver in the mix, Carolina, Winnipeg, Detroit. So like those are meaningful wins. But I tweeted this last night, like the Capitals still aren't good. And I'm not buying in. And because I'm now being forced to take them seriously, and I do give them credit for pulling out these wins, by the way, because they are essentially the only Eastern Conference wildcard team, bubble team that's not the Lightning, that are seizing points and forcing us to take them seriously. But the Capitals a month ago were essentially left for dead. And I'm not going to ride the recent hot stretch too much, and I'm not going to look into it too much. I'm going to give them credit for what they've done. But when you look under the hood, the Capitals still aren't good. Do you have, before we get into the nerdy shit, the numbers that I looked into, just want to know like what your thoughts are right now?
No, and we're going to edit out, once you say all the nerdy numbers and everything, we're just going to edit that out of the episode anyway. So go ahead.
All right. Well, so I looked into it, looked under the hood a little bit, because I tweeted out the Capitals aren't good at anything, and I still kind of believe that. But there are some caveats here. Like, I'm going back to February 27th, because that's when the Detroit Red Wings beat the Capitals 8-3, and they smoked them. At that point in time, the Red Wings were 6th in the Eastern Conference. Washington was 10th. Detroit had a 9-point lead on them. Again, felt like the Caps were left for dead. Since then, Washington's 9-4, Detroit's 3-9-1, and the Caps are 8th in the Eastern Conference. They hold the second wild card spot. Detroit's out of the playoff picture. They're 1 point behind, but 1 point behind, 2 points behind. I'll check that later. But
wait, Capitals 1 point behind who?
The Red Wings 1 point behind the Caps.
No, they're 2 points behind, and Washington has 11 games remaining. Detroit has 10.
Okay. Also, we have to point out that the Caps, although they're in the second wild card spot, they're 1 point behind the Philadelphia Flyers. So there is a non-zero.
Not only are they 1 point. Not only are they 1 point. They have 2 games in hand.
They have 2 games in hand. Jesus Christ,
buddy.
So like, there's a non-zero chance that the Capitals not only make the playoffs, they might make the playoffs as a metropolitan representative. Although this is a side note, I wouldn't want that spot if I was the Capitals. Give me the 8th spot and give me whoever wins. It's probably might be the Bruins, might be the Rangers. I think I would take that spot over having to face who's why am I blanking on?
Carolina.
Hurricanes.
Carolina, yeah. I wouldn't want Carolina right now.
I know that we're remote, so we're all jumbly and talking over each other and everything, but I do want to clarify that if the season were to end today, the Capitals would be the number 3 team in the Metro. They have a .570 winning percentage points percentage to the Flyers, .562. Capitals, 81 points in 71 games. Flyers, 82 points in 73 games. I thought I had done a pretty good job of pulling up every meaningful matchup between teams going forward. I don't know off the top of my head if the Capitals and Flyers end up playing each other down the stretch, but there is another, I think next Tuesday, there's another Red Wings and Capitals game. So Capitals are going to keep disrupting, keep playing, keep solidifying their spot either as the third wild card or as the third Metro or the first wild card. I was going to ask the question that you brought up of like, where should the Capitals want to finish? And would they give Florida, Boston, or the Rangers a series? I don't think that they beat any team that they face in the first round, but we referred famously to them or infamously to them as food just a week or two ago. I think they're becoming less foodie because now they've got the thing, Pete, of 2023 Florida Panthers. Oh, they've been in the playoffs for 3 months now.
Yeah, so that's been like the biggest pushback is that the Capitals have been a different team since the All-Star break. When you look at the overall numbers, they're kind of skewed because the Capitals were a much different team in the first half than they have been in the second half. And there's been a lot of young players, a lot of roster turnover. And like, I think that's very true. But when you're evaluating on an 82 game sample for like one team, you have to do it for every team. And yeah, they might be in the same conversation as a team, like the Florida Panthers from last year, or a lot of people have referred to them as the St. Louis Blues in 2019. The thing that I would point out about those two teams is that they were good at certain things and they were not good at other things. The Caps at 5-on-5, they are overwhelmingly mid to below average in almost every category, and that has remained the same. So that's my big point here, is dating back to February 27th when the Caps got their ass kicked and then started to turn things around. During that span, at 5-on-5, the Capitals have a negative attempt share, 44.9%, a negative shot share, 46.6%. They have only a +2 goal differential at 5-on-5. They have a 49% expected goal share, which is below average. It's 17th in the NHL, and their PDO is 102. So like they are like they're a pretty mid team at 5-on-5, and here's where they've found most of their success. They're riding an extremely hot power play. They've had the best power play in the league since the All-Star break. In the specific span that we're talking about, 14 goals in 13 games, and their PK hasn't been amazing, but their goaltending has been unbelievable. Charlie Lindgren, who we haven't talked about on this show yet, I don't believe, 12 games played, .921 save percentage, and he's been unbelievable. 5 shutouts, so good. He's been so good. And obviously you have Alex Ovechkin. You have some of the younger guys who are stepping up. But I don't know how much I'm buying into the sustainability of the Capitals having the league's best power play and one of the league's best goaltenders, especially when you talk about that goaltender being Charlie Lindgren, a guy who's come out of nowhere. Last year was essentially his first full season, and he had a sub 900 save percentage. Like, Charlie Lindgren has looked amazing. I don't know how much I'm buying into that sustaining. Maybe one round of the playoffs. Maybe they can be a disruptor in the first round. I'm just not really taking the Caps seriously, especially when their 5-on-5 numbers haven't been good.
They have literally 0 of the hallmarks of a playoff team. They are not strong down the middle. They do not have horses on defense. Shout out John Carlson, but they do not have horses on defense. You made the comparison, or you said that people are making the comparison to the 2019 Blues because they quote unquote came out of nowhere. They had several mooses.
Well, they also had months of success. When Binnington took over that team, I know they were dead last in the NHL. Like, they were dead last in the NHL on New Year's Day.
Yeah.
So to get into the playoffs, you had to have months of success. And they clawed their way back into the race, got there, and made an incredible run. The Capitals, to me, don't fall into that sort of classification because they've only had this success for like a month and a half, and I still don't know if it would have mattered if the Eastern Conference wildcard race wasn't so flimsy. Like, again, Detroit has fallen apart, and if they had just remained even mid or average, at this point in time, I don't think that the Caps would be in a playoff spot.
Yeah, no, this is largely about Detroit as well. Dan N in the chat asks if Charlie Lindgren is related to Ryan Lindgren. Buddy, yes. Mm-hmm. And if the N stands for Dan Nigro, I would like to say that I like your work producing the music of Olivia Rodrigo. I also like Prize Picks. Do you know this about me? I was prize picking up a storm last night because it's just what I do. Prize Picks is my favorite daily fantasy product out there. It's the best one on the market. It's just you against the numbers instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks. That's the difference between me and the Dallas Stars last night. I was not going up against sharks. Dallas Stars famously were. I want to say they won that game 6-3. And I won because I used Prize Picks. We know that football's not happening right now, but basketball is, Hockey is.
Tomorrow's the greatest day of the year.
Sean's birthday's tomorrow.
Yep. I was born on Major League Baseball opening day, baby.
That'd be. Can you do that legally? No, you can't. You can't legally change your birthday. It'd be
would-
cool though if you made it like if you did it like one of those Monday holiday things. You're like, my birthday is the third Monday of like
do it like
April
it's, like
every
it's
year.
MLK Day. Be like it's the first Monday of every January or February, whatever.
My nephew, the legendary Devin, his birthday is tomorrow. He is an opening day baby.
Oh,
whoa, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Like he was actually born on opening day too.
That's
Like
so
his
funny.
actual birthday was opening day.
My birthday usually falls around the All-Star game, so you could say I'm an All-Star baby, but I'm not an opening day baby.
My birthday famously falls during the Stanley Cup final.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Mine
And
does too, sometimes.
That's right.
I don't know either of your birthdays. I don't think you've ever told me.
I know your birthday.
Do
I
you?
think. Can we reveal it?
Yeah, I don't care.
Are you July 7th?
No. July 7th is my grandpa's birthday, though, interestingly.
That's what
Not
it
that
is.
you would have. There's no way you would have known that. It's July 15th.
So go to prizepicks.com/whatchaos and use code whatchaos for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/whatchaos and use code whatchaos. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. I do at this point also need to address, gotten a lot of questions about what does DJ's shirt mean? Sometimes my knee has been blocking part of it. This is my shirt. It says Bob It, and that is a picture of legendary Oilers broadcaster Bob Stauffer. Posted a picture of it on Twitter today, and he liked it. So that is a Bob It shirt. This show is known to play Bop It from time to time. We love Bob Stauffer. Pete went on his radio show one time. So this is a Bob It shirt. It's Bob It.
It's a big Bob show. It's also a big PXG show because I love PXG. They hooked me up with the Black Ops driver. I went to the PXG location in Framingham a couple weeks ago, had the most lovely experience of my life. They treated me like a celebrity because I look like Matt Damon, and I brought my mini driver to the store. Thank you, DJ. The Black Ops driver is I'm hoping it's fixing my golf game over the summer. I'm very encouraged by the results that I saw in the simulator at the PXG location in Framingham. My guy Brandon was very helpful in identifying what kind of work I need on my swing, and also kind of tailoring the custom driver to fit my swing. So extremely excited to get started. And if you want to do the Black Ops driver challenge yourself, you got to go to your nearest PXG location, bring your current driver, and see the difference between the two. And I guarantee you'll be as impressed as I was, because those guys, they rock, and we love PXG. The Black Ops driver is a breakthrough in driver technology. It's a complete and total victory in golf club engineering. Unlike anything you've ever seen before. So if you want what are you laughing at?
The chat, I'm sorry.
The term game changer has been thrown around a lot. It's kind of lost its meaning, but trust me when I tell you the PXG driver is a game changer. You'll be as impressed with it as I was. Learn more and get free shipping on all equipment at pxg.com/whatchaos. That's pxg.com/whatchaos for free shipping on all equipment. pxg.com/whatchaos.
Love it. You said the person there was named Brandon that helped you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so somebody in the chat said, "Let's go, Brandon," and that made me laugh.
Oh my God.
Ridiculous. Nice. Oh boy, oh boy. Where do we want to go next?
Sick driver, terrible putter vibes. That it could not be more correct. I'm somewhat good off the tee, horrible on the green. Short game, ironically, very bad for me.
Oh, see, I was going to guess that you were good at mini golf.
Yeah, no.
Getting
short
close
game's
is
terrible.
all that really matters. I can't drive for my life.
I mean, I golf like once every other year.
Same, I guess.
I'd rather be better at the short game and horrible off the tee. I don't know if that's true, because if you're horrible off the tee,
you're just setting yourself up for failure.
You're playing from behind the entire hole. But the thing that's so frustrating is to have a good hole and watch it fall apart because you can't fucking putt. None of it matter.
That is fair.
That is true. I mean, I didn't tell you boys this. Where I was over the weekend, there was Pop-A-Shot.
Hell yeah.
And I wanted to hit a certain number. And I was unable to hit it. And then it turned into DJ is going to play this nonstop until he hits this certain number. And I don't want to say what the number is because all Papa shots are created differently. This was not a super duper high number, but I went like 100. I probably played like 100 games in a row. My arms were killing me. I was wearing a sweatshirt when I started. I had to take it off. I was profusely sweating. I was a little high. It was the worst. And I kept getting, there were a lot of like turns where I got to one away from the number pretty quick and then just like
fell apart.
It was like reaching the green off the tee and then like 9 putting it.
Yeah, Jesus.
Horrible stuff.
There's nothing worse than that.
It's called performance anxiety and it affects lots of men. So this episode is brought to you by Coors Light. I actually did, Pete. I'll tell you off the show. I was talking to a friend about my general wellness routine, and I was like, "Oh, there's a product that I love that I use that I got Pete into that, especially around this time of year, is going to become a little more popular. We should get a sponsorship."
Marijuana?
You know what I'm talking about? Nope.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
I'll just say it right now. Glow screen.
Oh yeah, I haven't used glow screen in a while, but
yeah, I mean, I don't use it.
Highly recommend.
It's good. We're gonna.
It is good. Good stuff. Oh, did I tell you? I bought glow screen like a couple years ago after you recommended it, and I bought the one with glitter in it by accident. It was like the glow screen like shimmer stripper. So I put it on my body, and I was just like, I had glitter all over my body for a day, and I was like, I don't like this.
That's not too bad.
What are we talking about?
Glow screen?
Glow screen is it's like sunscreen. It's like tinted sunscreen that
it's got like a little concealer in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you know about concealer?
I know very little about concealer. Know very little about sunscreen. It's
well, that's Sean DePaz, ladies and gentlemen. Do we want to do Bruins Panthers for the Atlantic, or do we want to do? I just want to quickly shout out the Preds, man. That
dude, I know, and like
I saw that score 3-0, and I was like, of course. And we were hyping up with the Slate Grade yesterday that the Predators and the Golden Knights were playing each other. It was a matchup of the wild card teams, but we all know, like, even though the Knights are the second wild card, like the Knights are probably winning the Stanley Cup or something, or making some sort of deep run, and they are not in the same class as the Predators. Whatever, they're just probably going to steamroll them, get off to a 3-0 lead. Of course, it all makes sense. And I'll be honest, there were a lot of games on, so I watched other shit. And then I checked back and I was like, the motherfucking Predators, especially when it comes to Vegas-related shit, I should not have been surprised.
I know, and I got burned by a premature tweet. I tweeted, the Sphere sends its regards to the Predators getting their ass kicked by Vegas, and then obviously turns around. And not to bring everything back to the Capitals, but I've seen a lot of Caps fans being like, how come you're not bringing this same energy to the Predators? They were bad in the first half, and they've suddenly gotten hot. Like, again, if we're looking at an 82-game sample, the Predators have been like much better at 5-on-5, even though they weren't getting the same results. And they play in the Western Conference, which has, in my opinion, a much better collection of teams at the top than the Eastern Conference. So they've had a tough grind and tough go of it, and they've just been really great.
The Predators are now 4 points ahead of the Knights for the top wild card spot in the West, 4 points behind the Jets for third in the Central with 10 games remaining. Question I want to ask about this is similar one I asked about the Capitals. Should the Predators prefer the wild card where they would play the Canucks or the Stars, presumably, unless the Oilers do something crazy, or the Central, which would get them the Avalanche in the first round? I am just so positive that the Avalanche eliminate the Predators in the first round. And I think some wild shit could happen potentially with the Canucks, or even, this sounds crazy, the Stars.
I think that when you're talking about the Western Conference wild card, it's just or just like the Western Conference playoff picture in general. It's kind of like pick your poison, because all of those teams are really good, and you're getting a really tough playoff matchup no matter what. So I haven't really put much stock into like which team should this team want. It's like you're going to have to go through some really good teams regardless. There is no easy path through the Western Conference.
The Western Conference rocks, man. I
Yeah.
love it so much. I wish that would you take away two playoff teams from the Eastern Conference to add two more playoff teams to the Western Conference?
I did say that yesterday. I said that I would absolutely trade the Capitals for who's on the outside.
Like the Blues?
Well, I mean, like obviously you're trading the Capitals for the Golden Knights 100%. I would do the Blues for sure as well. Yeah, I would do that. Two teams from the West. Yeah, 100%. 100% I would do that.
They should spin the wheel. They should like make a wheel, like one of our famous wheels, and before the playoffs, take a lottery team. Every team has the same odds. One of those teams makes the playoffs.
Let me ask,
and then just dropped in there. So like now the fucking go ahead.
I know that like as a show, we're pretty against an expanded playoff format for the NHL, but what if instead of like 2 wild card spots in each conference, you had like 4 teams getting into the playoffs as quote unquote wild cards, but they can come like you can have 3 from the Western Conference, 1 from the Eastern Conference, and you essentially had just like the best of those teams.
I love that. I think that you would need to say that at least one team comes from each conference. But other than that, giddy up. I mean, right now,
just make it the best 16 teams. As of right now, for the record, the best 16 records or the point by points, the best top 16 teams in points in the NHL are the 16 teams that are making the playoffs.
That is true. Golden Knights, yeah.
But how much of that comes down to like
the conference that you play in,
the schedule that you play. You know,
but I mean, you run into that exact same problem with your system too. Like it's the teams in the East, in theory, would have a better opportunity to get those spots, and then you probably are kicking out teams. Again, you wouldn't be in this situation right now, but you'd be kicking out teams that might be better.
Yeah,
but
and then you'd be talking about teams getting a playoff. Like maybe it's an unfair position to be in if you're like the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference and you're playing a Western Conference team that you've only seen like twice during the regular season in the first round. You have less to go off of. Maybe that's a little unfair, but I mean, yeah, I just think that the Western Conference is so much better 1 through 8 than the Eastern Conference this year,
and way cooler. I've got to shout out the Boston Bruins and Jim Montgomery, because famously that guy yells, Tim Robinson voice, yelled at the team, screamed at him, hooted, hollered, made him. I mean, look at him last night. Look at my head coach. The Donald Trump voice. Look at my coach. Just screaming at what do you say? Calling somebody a fucking moron? The guy's losing his mind. He's a hothead. He's lost it for once and for all. But I'll tell you what, the Boston Bruins last night came back in the final 5 minutes, tied and won a game in regulation against like the fucking best team in the conference, the Florida Panthers, the team that they are chasing for not only the Atlantic Division, but for the President's Trophy. That is their game of the year. That is their win of the year. Pavel Zacha, game winner. What a stud. As our friend Matt Porter put it, Zack Hyman, incredible. It worked. Yelling worked because this team, as you should know by now, folks, blows games in the third period. They're the team that has a lead in the third period and finds a way to lose in regulation. To come from behind against the Panthers in Florida, win in regulation, get yourself 2 points and ensure that the Panthers get 0 is massive, because now they have, I believe, they're leading the Atlantic by 2 points with 9 games remaining. Florida has 10 games remaining, so it's going to be close. They play each other one more time the rest of the season, Saturday, April 6th, 3:30 p.m. in Boston. I think we should probably go to that game. But incredible game, not just for the viewers, but that's a big win for the Bruins.
Dare I say, galvanizing win for the Bruins. Not only just that they beat the Panthers, but to beat them in the way that they did, to kind of play the Uno reverse card and like basically defy everything that they've become in the second half of the year. So absolutely huge win for the Bruins. And I think we got to talk about like coaches being mean, having a real moment in the NHL. The Nashville Predators, famously not allowed to go to the Sphere to see U2 and have become the best team in the NHL since. And Jim Montgomery just being a real meanie to that group of boys over the past few days, yelling at them, making them do sprints, and the results speak for themselves.
John Tortorella not letting his captain play hockey.
And being, did you see we didn't even talk about the John Tortorella stuff. He had to like kind of issue a retraction on how mean he was to his goalie.
No, give it to me.
You didn't see that? Yeah, like somebody asked him about the goaltender's performance the other day, and
he didn't
stood
speak
at the podium and he just did like a bunch of like,
yeah, and then he stormed off.
What do I got to say about it? You already know. And then he came out yesterday and was like, I'm very sorry. That was extremely mean. I shouldn't have done that.
He was saying it was unfair to the goalie.
Yeah.
Because of the situation that the goalies have been in Philadelphia this year.
Yeah. And I feel like there was maybe some pressure put on John Tortorella because he strongly walked it back.
Yeah, he even turned to the journalist and said you had every right to ask that question.
Yeah.
Which my immediate response was, but they didn't have the right to ask the Couturier question. But I guess that's a different issue.
Yeah, I mean, small steps for Torts, but yes, being mean has been very good. Did you see Evander Kane talking about his maintenance day?
Yeah.
Didn't sound like
Not
a maintenance
happy.
day. Did not sound like a maintenance day. They were
It definitely did not. I think that old pissy Leo has some pull with old Mr. Knobloch.
Did you hear who was asking the questions?
No. Who was it?
It was fucking Gene.
Was it really?
He was like, hey, like, is it one of those things where, by taking one day off, you get more days of rest, blah, blah, like this, instead of, like, this really buys you 3 more days of rest or whatever. Anything that you got, you could feel better about it. And he was like, I guess you could look at it that way.
Also, chat points out. What's up?
I was going to say, and then last night, Evander Kane gets sprung on a breakaway. And I was like, oh boy, he needs this. Oh, he didn't score.
Chat points out too that Luke Richardson bag skated the Blackhawks and they've won 2 games in a row.
Wow. I've already asked you that if you know that Seth Jones has 7 goals.
You did ask me that.
Luke Richardson springing this boy.
That's right.
The guy can't stop scoring. I think that we've nailed it. You got to be mean you got to be a mean coach within the boundaries. And if you're rude to the media, you got to apologize. Andrew Berkshire did the same thing. He posted a video apologizing, but he was more to Zack Hyman. We do have some people in the chat who joined late and asked if we talked about Zack Hyman yet today. Obviously, we talked about Zack Hyman today. We talk about Zack Hyman every single day. If we're talking about Evander Kane, we've already talked about Zack Hyman.
Right.
I wanted to report
There's
back
a depth chart to this thing.
I wanted to report back to you guys, by the way. The shirtless man in the Doan suite is his uncle. It's his mom's brother-in-law, according to my sources.
Holy shit.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, like, not even blood related to Josh, I don't think. Just up there being a unit.
I'll tell you what, at the end of the show, when we were done, Sean was like, I'm going to place a little wager on Josh Doan to score a goal. And I said, can't wait to talk to you about how mad you are that you didn't bet him to score 2 goals. He ended up scoring 2 goals. None of us bet that, but Sean DePaz, big money winner.
Big money winner. I bet on him, and then I received some news. And by news, I mean a quote from his coach that said he was going to score. His college coach that said he was going to score. So then I doubled down on it, and it worked out pretty nicely.
Well, insider trading.
A little bit.
What was that? What were you saying about your relationship with Shohei Ohtani?
I mean, somebody had to place the bets.
Yeah.
Did see that Biz too was like absolutely no chance that Josh Doan doesn't score.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I feel like everyone in Arizona was kind of on that page. I was saying it all day. Like it was. He scored in the first ever game at Mullet. He is the moment. He's a chosen one.
Some say.
So
he looked good, by the way. He like it wasn't just some fluky goals. He looked good.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, he was leading the AHL rookies in goals. He probably could have been brought up earlier. Like he's a very good hockey player, and it was him. Dylan Guenther, also very good, very fast. Love watching him play.
What's my man on Northeastern's name?
Currently,
It's like there's a guy named like Beowulf or something.
oh, Gunnar Wolf,
yeah.
Gunnar Wolf. What's his last name?
Fontaine.
Yeah.
Gunnar Wolf Fontaine.
Forgot
So
about him.
on some Gunnar Wolf Fontaine shit, famously, I definitely knew the guy's name when I made this rant when we first spoke about him. If there's a guy named Gunnar Wolf Fontaine and he's in the draft, you better fucking make sure that he sucks before you pass on him. Similarly, Josh Doan was like the 37th overall pick.
Yeah, second round pick.
That guy needs to suck dick at hockey for you to not draft Shane Doan's kid in the first round. Right?
Well,
Not the first
no,
round.
so he was seen as a reach when he
I
was
know.
taken.
I know,
Yeah.
but like you need to be positive he is terrible. I mean, generally when a team drafts the son of a team legend, they reached for them. Because if they
And-
were good, they would go for like first overall.
And Shane Doan was involved in the hockey operations. He might still be. I think he still is. But
He's AGM in Toronto.
Oh, really? I didn't
Yeah.
even know that. But he
Because
was
they
involved
refused-
in he was
Yeah, he
involved in
was.
team ops when his son was drafted. So it was like big nepo baby vibes to reach for a kid who is like the son of somebody in your front office.
But
That's
it's not somebody in your front office. It's Shane Doan's
It is your
kid.
front office.
Yeah.
Like it is your franchise.
Every team needs to be on that. Like when the Bruins drafted Ryan Donato in the second round, no offense to Ted Donato, but I was like, is Ryan Donato any good? Whatever. Like I could see, it seemed
But
like he was
have
just
to
like
draft them.
a normal second round prospect who got drafted in the second round. If this kid's name was like Ryan Neely or something, you're like, wow. And that kid got to whatever pick. And you're like, does he stink? Why? And I know there's a lot of projection involved in when you're drafting these like 17 and 18-year-old kids. But boy, oh boy, when that kid's last name is Doan, if he gets to the second round, you better pray, and you passed on him, you better pray that kid stinks, because it would seem like a no-brainer when all these kids after like the top 10 end up not panning it out anyway, just like guess that the Doan kid is going to be pretty good.
Nick in the
Also,
chat
my point too is like if you're the Coyotes, you can't let anybody else draft Shane Doan's kid. It's, you know, maybe if you're like the Leafs or whatever, you just say, you know, sure, we've got a lot of good players in our history. If you're the Coyotes, like how does Shane Doan not own the Coyotes at this point? Shane Doan is Mr. Coyote.
Yeah. I mean,
Maybe his parents aren't rich enough.
That's a whole other story over there.
Well, I do know that there was like a very complicated relationship that like they refused to kind of embrace him for a while.
His front office, and they refused to give him one, basically. Which is unfortunate. But yeah, it was very funny to me when they saw the clip of AGM or GMBA Bill Armstrong telling Shane Doan, "It's like we didn't draft this kid because of his name." And it's like, yeah, he's clearly an NHL prospect like now, but you definitely drafted him because of his name. Like you had to draft him because of
Shane Doan, first NHL player I ever interviewed for a story. And he is just like, he was the biggest sweetheart. I know that a lot of people didn't like him league wide, or like fans didn't like him league wide, thought he was dirty, blah, 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 blah. Shane Doan, unbelievable guy from all accounts.
He is. And Josh is just like him. He is like Josh Doan is actually one of the first people I got to interview, funny enough. And he is like one of the nicest people I've ever met.
You know who's the coolest person I ever interviewed? Barack Obama. I'm on a different level than you fucking dorks.
Coolest
first
person
athlete I've ever interviewed was Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, when he was at Boston College, like a pretty sick like first guy to talk to.
I don't even know who my first athlete would be. Coolest person I ever interviewed was Ugly God, only because Diplo walked in the middle of it, so I was kind of interviewing Diplo. But as far as sports are concerned, I don't know who the coolest person I personally interviewed has been.
I can't remember the first people I remember the first time I physically covered a Boston Red Sox game the first person I interviewed at the behest of my boss, Rob Bradford. He was like, hey, go into the Twins room and interview Torrey Hunter. And I was like, what about? And he was like, I don't care. Baseball players aren't always super nice to like kids. Torrey Hunter's the nicest person in the world. Go experience that Torrey Hunter's a nice guy. So
That's
I
awesome.
talked to him. And then years later, I ended up seeing like Torrey Hunter has some beliefs that don't align with mine. But what are you going to do? He was still a nice man. Yeah. I'm trying to think like who's first hockey players? What? No one cares. But
I was going to ask, this has been in the show rundown for like 6 straight days.
Good.
So I feel like we should finally get to it.
Tate McRae.
The Tate McRae discussion. So let's do it. Let's close out the show with another Tate McRae segment. I haven't looked into any of this, but I've just seen that it's been sitting in the show rundown for like 4 straight days.
Yeah, so Tate McRae famously cleaned up at the Junos over the weekend. If you don't know what the Juno Awards are, they're like the Canadian... I don't know what they are. They're a Canadian award thing, and I'm pretty sure, let's see if you know this. I'm not positive. Do you know who hosted the Junos, Pete?
Elliot Page.
I believe it was Nelly Furtado, because I think during like hockey games, they were was it Nelly Furtado?
It was, yep.
During Oilers games, I'm pretty sure it was Oilers games, they kept saying like, and don't forget to watch the fucking Junos because Nelly Furtado is going to host. And I was like, hell yeah, let me check that out. I didn't, but I follow a hockey fan on Instagram named Tate McRae, and they were posting that they cleaned up at the Junos. They won Song of the Year for Greedy, and they won Artist of the Year. So shout out Tate McRae.
Over Daniel Caesar and Shania Twain, by the way.
Is this Canadian only? Like,
it seems
like the Canadian only Grammys?
It's very provincial, I believe. Yes.
Why does Canada get away with that?
Oh, you're doing some like, oh, well, what if I did a straight person parade?
No, but like,
Pete's having a tough go of it as an ally the last couple of days.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, Canada makes their entire personality being like, we only care about Canadians, blah, 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 blah. And they just get away with that shit.
I mean, it's like, it's their own country. Like we would do that too if everyone didn't come here. Like if no one goes there, so like they can only really talk about Canadians.
What do you mean? Canada has like a ton of immigrants.
No, well, yeah, immigrants, sure, but I'm saying like Tate McRae performs in the United States is going to be at U.S. award shows. She's Canadian. Drake is Canadian. Bublé is Canadian. They're going to come, but like we're not sending Americans to be Canadian stars. So they really can only celebrate, if they want to celebrate Canadians, they got to sell, or like the best talent in Canada, they got to celebrate Canadians.
That I hear that. I'm more thrown off by, did Daniel Caesar have an album?
I don't
like, did Daniel Caesar had a big year?
Also, Daniel Caesar is Canadian, question mark?
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that. He is.
He's got a very Canadian vibe to him.
Chat pointing out that the American Music Awards exist, but like, I don't feel like they exclude the non-Americans.
And that's such a fucking jerk off thing. No one cares about the American Music Award. Hey, you see people care about the AMAs last night?
Canadians probably do.
Can you believe who was snubbed at the AMAs? Could you believe that Boy Genius didn't clean up at the AMAs? No one cares about the AMAs, and quite frankly, Boy Genius isn't that good. I like their EP. Their last album isn't that good. Relax.
Daniel Caesar released an album last year, 2023, by the way.
Okay, so shout out him. I think it makes sense for Tate McRae to clean up there. But there was also, did I read the excerpt from Elle Canada yesterday?
I don't think you read it on the show.
No.
Okay, so Elle Canada.
You haven't got to any of the Tate McRae stuff. You didn't read any of this.
Okay, Elle Canada put out a piece called Tate McRae's Sporty Glam is Reinventing the Pop Star Aesthetic. Here we go. This is a little excerpt I threw in there. Yes, she captivates audiences with her vocals and incredible dance performances. But her fresh take on the pop princess uniform is equally as fascinating. Having grown up in a hockey household, House load. McRae has leaned into her roots, including quintessential Canadian sporting gear into her glitzy pop star looks. The music video for her blah, 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 greedy hockey rink, blah, blah, does a split in cleats. This new formula has allowed her to build not only a consistent and recognizable aesthetic, but also a sporty edge that deeply relates to Canadians, which is just so fun. You'll regularly see her in jerseys and oversized sweats, infused with glam elements like bedazzled bustiers and chunky jewelry. Most important here, jewelry is spelt Jewellery. I Googled that. That's how Canadian people spell jewelry.
Dude, it's such...
That's crazy.
I love Canada so much, but sometimes they do some shit that just makes me want to, like, as someone in the chat said, build the wall and not and for that order. Like I'm just so get the U out of your words.
Why are we doing the U? Why are we reversing the E and the R? Like centre.
I think their argument would be that's because that's how the British do it, and they started the language, which
that's
is
clearly what they're doing.
Which is like right, but also fuck off. I don't. It's
the
unnecessary.
British.
I mean,
they still have the British on their money. What are they to do?
You boys know me. I wear a AP style guide around my neck. I take that shit very seriously. I'll be reading some Canadian shit, and I'm like, same team, right? I thought, like, shouldn't we all kind of generally be doing the same thing? I think. Here's one.
Right, we're unifying here, and like, but off that point, somebody in the chat pointed out that they're called the American Music Awards, not the United States of America Music Awards. So they could be like the North American Music Awards. We could be inviting everybody.
That is true. A little bit. Could be. I like that. Chromeo, I think, is putting out an album this year.
Chromeo rocks.
Yeah. Chromeo has to qualify as a Canadian group. They're extremely French Canadian. So maybe next year.
I'm pretty anti-Canadian, but Canada has some pretty good musical acts.
They do.
They have some of the best.
I mean, depending on there's a lot of groups that are like kind of Canadian, where there will be like a Canadian member. Like the band, if you want, could be Canadian.
That's more my point, is that like if there's even like a tiny connection to Canada, Canada will be like ours. And they're so annoying about it.
Yeah. You know who I've been really into?
I feel like Americans are not the ones that get to complain about other people being annoying about what's theirs.
That is very true. Somebody mentioned Nickelback. If you have not seen our conversation with Lena Solmark and Jeremy Swayman, I don't know where Pete weighed in on this. I think you were more the goalie mask element of it. But I passionately defend Nickelback. Not as a great band, but as certainly not a terrible band.
They're the Arby's of music. Say it all the time. No one actually hates Nickelback. They only hate them because they're told to hate them.
It's great. For some reason, it's cool to say that Nickelback sucks.
Arby's is good. They have the best fries in fast food. Stop pretending that they don't.
Quality-wise?
My problem with Nickelback more lies at the feet of Chad Kroeger. I just think that his singing style is very, very abrasive.
I could see how that would be a turnoff, but musically, there is no difference in quality. Truthfully, there is no difference in quality between Nickelback and Taylor Swift. And one is heralded as being the most brilliant thing in the world, but it's just factually not. The other is lambasted.
And the truth is somewhere in the middle.
And the truth is somewhere in the middle. I think that I'd probably say that Taylor Swift is better than Nickelback, but I'm hearing an argument about the opposite.
I mean, I mean, not that like personal opinion matters at all, but like I would every day of the week much rather listen to Nickelback than anything Taylor Swift.
Something that was funny about the Berkshire thing, and I quote.
I was going to say, I'm so proud of you for getting through the Zack Hyman Berkshire conversation without referencing Taylor Swift.
Well, like he made the argument that people should be making about Taylor Swift, but he made it about Zack Hyman, and like nobody is saying Zack Hyman is completely self-made. People, for some reason, do say that Taylor Swift is self-made when, yes, like her parents did actually buy her way in and give her all these things. But even like if I made that video about Taylor Swift and put it that way, I would expect people to be like, ugh. Dude.
Right. Because you're discrediting everything that's happened and everything that like he or she has accomplished since that moment. Yes, they bought their way in, but buying your way in doesn't guarantee success from that point on.
You also need to brainwash white children. And that is something that that only Taylor and her marketing team could do. And then those white children grow up and they don't get any smarter. And what do? They loudly say that if you don't take my white child opinion, you hate certain groups of people. It's really brilliant. Zack Hyman isn't doing any of that shit.
We need some like Zack Hyman Harvard courses about like how Zack Hyman has changed hockey to really even the playing field.
And we could like analyze Zack Hyman quotes and things that he's said in the media. Be like, exactly. How's like let's see, like
what if we started treating Zack Hyman like Taylor Swift in that we're looking for Easter eggs in everything that he says and does?
Yeah. Queer culture through the lens of Zack Hyman media scrums. And it's just like him being like, yeah, man, I want gay people at the games. I think that's a pretty obvious no-brainer. We're like, now what does he mean when he says that?
We should start tracking his private jet, and by his private jet, just the Oilers team plane. And it's just like going to the cities that he's
canceling Zack Hyman for his jet emissions.
Like, oh, look at this. Zack Hyman just took a flight from Edmonton to South Florida in the middle of March. For what? It's just the Oilers are playing the Panthers.
Us loving Zack Hyman so much that we cancel him, for some reason, does sound kind of like something that we would do. Like, we just love him so much and we hold him so tight that we just
handle it.
It's like it's like Selena. We love him so much that we, you know how that story ended.
I saw some quotes from J-Lo, by the way, the other day. It was just like J-Lo about various other actresses. And man, she has some crazy shit to say. Obviously, it was like all compiled over the years, but I forget, like Winona Ryder or something. She'd be like, never saw it. Don't get what the big deal is. On Salma Hayek, she said she was offered the role of Selena. She wasn't. I don't know why she's got to lie about that shit. Seems like a pretty weird person.
I mean, if that's true, then like all respect J-Lo. Like just fucking talk your shit. She's still Jenny from the block.
So J-Lo has the thing of like not like uncancelable or whatever, but I'm not really taking any arguments against J-Lo seriously. Even if there are if there's like proof, she did this, she said this, she did blah. I'm like, I don't see why you got to hate on J-Lo though.
J-Lo never done anything wrong. Except for break Alex Rodriguez's heart. I
do have to get out of here, but this is a great show.
Okay, it was nice talking to you. This was very good. Should we do a Slate Grade presented by Game Time? This one's going to be quick because there's only 2 fucking games tonight. 2 games. 7 p.m. U.S., Senators at Sabres. Talk about sucked off.
Oh, no. Where'd I go?
No,
there I am.
That game sucks. A 7:30 p.m. U.S., Bruins at Lightning. And that is all she wrote. 2 games.
Yeah.
Bruins at Lightning is good.
Yeah, but on a back-to-back.
Yeah. You could get a little bit of playoff preview.
It makes me so sad that Sabres Senators doesn't mean anything. Because that was like that was hockey for me when I was a kid, was Sabres Senators. And now it's just meaningless.
Do have a note. I hold the chaos chain. The Montreal Canadiens beat the Colorado Avalanche last night in overtime. So I hold the chaos chain, and it's a big deal for me. First time that I've had it.
This is also the first time. It's actually the 100th time. I'm not dogging you. You've forgotten to do a like spike.
Yeah, I know. But we got a lot of people in here, so if you're still in here, you stuck around to the end and you held that like, now's your time, baby. 3, 2, 1, hit that like, hit that like, hit that like. Give us a like, and also if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do that now. We love you forever. Bye, bye, bye. Also, A-?
A-. Bye.
Great, bye.
We all silly like the mayor.